summer, I had the schus of visiting Rav Asher Weiss Shlita at his office in Yerushalayim. We were discussing the concept of writing svarim. At the time, Rav Asher Weiss told me there's 3 levels of siyumim that he makes that have varying levels of simcha that they bring him. Level number 1, the lowest level, is a Siyum HaShas. Level number 2, Rav Asher Weiss Shlita writes all his own svarim by hand, is a siyum of a notebook. At level number 3 is a siyum of a pen, when he finishes all the ink that's inside. Perhaps that's a message to all of us that Daf Yomi is only a beginning. Ashrei misha balakan v'salmuda b'yadoi v'sein chalkeinu b'sayrasecha. It's my schus to call upon Rav Asher Weiss Shlita, the Av Beis Din, and the Rosh Kollel of Moistas Minchas Asher in Yerushalayim.
B'reshus Moronon, V'Rabbonon, V'Rabboisai, Rivevois Alfei Yisrael Kahal Kodosh, dear brothers and sisters, dear friends, Tayeri Yidden. Yes, indeed, Ashrei Misha Godal B'Torah, V'Amoloi B'Torah, V'Oise Nachas Ruach Liyoitzu. This is a day like no other. This is a day to rejoice, a day to dance and sing. And just a few moments ago, the thousands filling this beautiful hall danced and sing L'Kvoido Shel Torah. This is a day to cherish and to remember. But more than anything else, it is a day to commit, to recommit and rededicate and redevote our total beings, every fiber of our souls, to devote our minds and hearts, our souls and spirit, and our neshamas to Ahavas Hashem and Ahavas Torah. In days of yore, when the Beis HaMikdash omad al Tiloi, when the Beis HaMikdash proudly stood on the mountain Yerushalayim, we had a mitzvah of Hakel. As we learned in Parshas Vayelech, in Mishneh Torah, Mekates Sheva Shonim b'moyed Shnas HaShemitah. At the end of the 7-year Shemitah cycle, Hakel Esuam, bring together the people, who are Noshim, Hanoshim, V'hataf, men, women, and children. L'man yishma'u u'leman yilmedu v'yoru es Hashem Elokeichem v'shamru lasois es kol divrei ha'toiro hazois. Once in 7 years after the Shemitah cycle, the entire people came together. What brought them together? To renew the covenant, to reassert the bond, to rekindle the spirit, and to reignite the fire and the passion for Ahavas Torah and Yiras Shomayim. The Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. We no longer have the mitzvah of Hakel. But the closest thing we have to Hakel, yes, the modern day Hakel. A 7-year cycle of Siyum Daf Yomi. Umekeit Sheva Shonim. After 7 years, once again the people come together. Hundreds of thousands of Yidden, in thousands of congregations, hundreds of cities spanning 6 continents, come together. Why do they come together? What brings them together? Once again, to rekindle the spirit and reignite the fire the fire and the passion of Ahavas Hashem and Ahavas Torah. I too was standing last week in New Jersey, and we stood there 100,000 strong. 100,000 Yidden yelling at the height, at the depth of their lungs, Yehei Shemei Rabu Mevorach Li'olam U'Li'olmayu. What an experience. What an experience. And to those of you that brought along their children tonight, yes, you did a very wise thing. In Chagiga Daf Gimel Amud Aleph, Chazal tell the story. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya asks his Talmidim, Shabbos shel mi hoiso. Who was the one that gave the Drasha on Shabbos? Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And what did he say? And the Talmidim of Rabbi Yeshua were reluctant to repeat. And he pleaded, what did he say? This is what he said. Hu anoshim v'hanoshim v'hatav hakei lesuam. Anoshim boim lilmoid. Noshim bois lishmoa. Taf lamo boim. Men come to learn. The women come to listen and to hear. Why do we bring the children? Leten sochatoiv lemiviyayim. To give great rewards to those that brought the children. And the Klei Yokar in Parshas Vayelech wonders, is it just to reward those for schlepping the children? If there is no benefit to those children, we might as well schlep eitzim v'avonim, asked the Klei Yokar. We might as well carry rocks and logs. No, says the Ramban, no. We bring the children. They might not understand what we teach. So all these tired Yiddish kinder are sitting here right next to their fathers. They might not understand everything, all the divrei Torah that is said. They might not appreciate the droshes. But the children will look around and see thousands of people, a crowd bigger than any they ever saw before. And they will turn to their fathers and ask, Daddy, Abba, Tati, what brought all these thousands of people together? Why did they all come this evening? And you will respond to your children, because they all love the Daf, and the Daf loves them all. That is why. That is why the children came to Hakel. And Rabbi Yehoshua was moved. And he says, Margolias toiva hoiso biyetchem v'bikashtem la'abdo memeni. This is a gem. This is a diamond. And why was he so moved? Because the Yerushalmi in Yavamis Daf Ches teaches us, when Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya was a child, his mother brought him to the Beis HaMedrash in a crib, kedei sheyizdabku oznav b'divrei Torah. He was an infant in his crib, and his mother brought him to the Beis Medrash to experience the beautiful fragrance of Torah. Sheyizdabku oznav b'divrei Torah. And that is the way I understand Litten Sochatoiv Lemiviyehem. Your efforts in Chinuch will be enhanced. Your efforts in Chinuch will be rewarded. And that is why we bring the children. Yes, the children are part of this celebration. These children are the future of Torah Jewry in Chicago. They are the future of Yiddishkeit in the world. So what does the Daf mean to us? In Katowice, Tov Reish Pei Gimel, 1923, in the first Knesset Gedolah of Agudas Yisrael. When Reb Meir Shapira first put forth the idea of Daf Yomi, it was an unbelievable spark of genius, and just to come to think of it, he was a younger man, 35 years of age. And I think it was not only a spark of genius, but probably a spark of Ruach HaKodesh. And he suggested the idea of Daf Yomi. Reb Meir Shapira quoted the Gemara in Yevamis, Kuf Chof Aleph Amud Aleph. Omar Rabban Gamliel Pamachas Oyisi Mahalach Bisfino, Veroisi Sfino Acheres Shenishbara. I was in a boat, and from far away, I saw a ship go under. Vo'yisi mitztayer al Talmud Chochem Shebo, Vemano, Rabbi Akiva. So Rabban Gamliel says, I was profoundly saddened because I knew that Rabbi Akiva ben Yosef was on that ship, and I mourned his demise. Kisha olisi liyabosho, Yosha v'dan lefonai bahalocha. And to my pleasant surprise, when I got back to shore, Rabbi Akiva came, and as in previous days, Dan lefonai bahalocha, the great Tana, the greatest of Tanoim, Rabbi Akiva ben Yosef, Umarti loi mi helacha, who salvaged you from the sea. And Rabbi Akiva says, Daf motzosi, v'chol gal v'gal she'avar olai, nanaisi loi beroishi. I found a daf, and that daf saw me through all the swells and all the waves. Reb Meir Shapira offered his unique interpretation. Those were difficult days. 40 years earlier, the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. But Bar Kokhba still led the resistance to the Romans. In the days of Rabbi Akiva, Beital fell. Bar Kokhba's forces were vanquished, and the last remnants of resistance were destroyed. And the people finally understood that this is Galus, and darkness has descended on the world. Rebbe Akiva says, Daf Mutzasi, in these turbulent seas and troubled waters, I found a daf, and that daf saw me through. So the daf has been with us since the very first cycle of the Siyum of Daf Yomi. And from the 1st to the 13th, we have known different times. We have known times of simcha, of joy, of abundance, of atzlacha, and we have known times of profound sorrow and tragedy. So Klal Yisrael started learning the Daf Rosh Hashanah Tov Reish Pei Daled, 1934. The very first, 1924, the very first Siyum was Tov Reish Tzadik Aleph, 1931. And that Siyum was celebrated in Yeshivas Chachmei Lublin. And Reb Meir Shapira stood at the head of the celebrations, and like a king in full glory and splendor, addressed the Olam, and he had so much nachas. 7 years transpired. The second Siyum took place, once again in Yeshivas Chachmei Lublin. Reb Meir Shapira wasn't present. He tragically passed away, Tov Reish Tzadik Daled. He was only 46 years of age, and he left no children. And that was 1938 after the Anschluss. The Nazi monster was on the march. And Gedolei Yisrael contemplated, should we celebrate at all? But celebrate they did, because we won't let the Daf down, and the Daf won't let us down. 20,000 people came to Lublin in 1938, and with heavy hearts. Dark clouds covered the sky, blocking out the light of the sun. Nevertheless, they said, Hadran alach mesechet nido v'kol hashas. And they also said, Me'emesei koiren es hashoma ba'arav. 7 more years transpired, the most horrific years in the history of the world. 6 million Jews perished, going up in ashes and smoke in the crematoriums and the gas chambers in Auschwitz. Tov Shin Vav Chav Tes Sivan, Siyum HaShas number 3. Rabbi Yossel Friedenson, a great friend, a historian, a publicist, the editor of Das Yiddische Wort, describes in his memoirs, I was in Feldafing, and we tried to celebrate. Feldafing was a DP camp on German soil, 1 year after the Holocaust. And in the days leading up to the Siyum, we tried to achieve some Gemoras. We managed to get 2 Mesechet Nida and 4 Mesechet Brochas. And nevertheless, they celebrated. And once again they said, Hadran alach Mesechet Nida v'kol hashas v'adrach alan. And once again they said, Me'ei Musai koiren es hashoma ba'aravim. And that was the most tragic Siyum of them all. 75 years later, here we stand, 100,000 people gathering for a Siyum, hundreds of thousands rejoicing throughout the world. This is a miracle of miracles, the greatest miracle in history. What is the secret of our miracle? What is the secret of Klal Yisrael? By the natural course of human history, the Jews should have been 3 pages in history books, somewhere between the Greek and the Roman Empire, somewhere between the Babylonians and the Trojans. Some pages in history book would tell the story. There was an ancient people that called themselves the Jews and claimed to be descendants of the patriarchs of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. But we are not history. We are living and thriving and growing in numbers and growing in dedication. The Renaissance of Torah Yiddishkeit is an unbelievable story, unparalleled in human history. This is a miracle. How did this come to be? Let me share with you a story about my late father, Zecher Tzaddik Levrocha, who was a tremendous Talmid Chochem and an Ilui, and my great Rebbe, the great Rebbe of Tzanz Kloisenberg, Zecher Tzaddik V'Kodosh Levrocha. My father arrived in Auschwitz, first day Shavuos, Tovshin Dalet, 1944. That very same day, he lost his grandfather, grandmother, father and mother, and 5 of his siblings. The Kloisenberger Rebbe arrived in Auschwitz 1 day later, second day Shavuos, 1944. My father never saw him, but he heard about him, and he was so anxious to get close to him. My father heard that the Klosenberger Rebbe is in one barracks next to the one he was in, one building. He sneaked out the middle of the night, putting himself in jeopardy and in imminent danger if the guards would see him that would shoot him on the spot. He sneaked into the other building and he looked for a person named Hollander. He found him and he told him, "Your son is with me in the next barracks. You would probably want to be together with your son, so let's swap places. But before we do so, you will memorize my number and I will memorize yours. Because in Auschwitz you didn't have a name. You didn't deserve a name. You were a number." So they swapped places. In the morning, my father approached the Klosenberger Rebbe and he expressed his gratitude. And he said, "I hope to be close to the Rebbe and I'll try to be as helpful as possible." The great Rebbe looked down on him, frowned, and said, "Bocher, the mindset the Rebbe is helfen, said the Gunish helfen." Young boy, my father was 17 and a half at the time. If you think it's gonna do you any good, ain't gonna do you any good. To which my father responded, "Avade wird es mir helfen, mit kennen reden and lernen." Of course it's gonna do me good, we could talk and learning. The Rebbe was taken aback, astounded. Obviously, he didn't expect that response from a 17-year-old Yosem that just lost his entire family. And the Rebbe asked, "Bocher, you're in Auschwitz and you want to talk and learning?" To which my father said, "Yes, we must talk and learning. Otherwise, how will we prevail? How will we survive? How will we make it?" The Rebbe hugged him, and talk and learning they did for the next 12 months. From Auschwitz to Warsaw, from Warsaw to Dachau, from Dachau on the Death March, and they talked and learning. And they talked and learning for the next 40 years. Because otherwise, how will we prevail? And what my father intuitively felt in the depth of his heart on that terrible day, Klal Yisrael felt 2,000 years ago. And in the days leading up to the Chorban, when Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai finally gets to meet Aspasianus Caesar. And Aspasianus tells Rabbi Yochanan, "Make a wish and it will be fulfilled. Make a request and it shall be granted." What did Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai request? "Ten li Yavno v'chachomeho." Give me Yavno and its scholars. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai knows and feels and sees that the Beis HaMikdash will be destroyed. Malchus Yisrael, the Jewish kingdom, will no longer exist, and the Kahuna will lose much of its relevance. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai knows that the only guarantee for the future of Klal Yisrael is Yavna v'chachomeho. It is the only thing that could guarantee our future. The yeshivas and the koilalim. The amal of Torah, only if we talk and learning could we prevail. And talk and learning we did. And the Jew went through this terrible gullus with a Gemara under his arm. Goyla achar goyla, goyla visura. From one exile to the other, from one inquisition to the other, we talked and learning. It is the only thing we could do together. If a Jew from the Netherlands would meet a Yemenite Jew, what would they have in common? Almost nothing. Different culture, different mannerisms, a different language. They wouldn't understand each other. A different complexion. Their skin was not the same color. The siddur of one would be totally unfamiliar to the siddur of another. They couldn't even daven together. What did they have in common? What was the only endeavor they could share? Reading and learning. They could talk and learning because they shared the Bavli and they shared the Yerushalmi. They shared the Rambam and they shared the Shulchan Aruch. It was the only thing they could do together, talk and learning, and talk and learning they did. That's what we've been doing for 2,000 years. Be'ezras Hashem, it is what we will continue to do. Ad bias goyal tzedek. So this is a magnificent evening. It's an evening like no other. It is an evening in which the Torah community of Chicago, in all its splendor, came together to sing and dance, came together to rejoice b'Siyum HaShas. But if all we do tonight is just rejoice, if we will get up tomorrow and will be the same as we were today, then much of this effort will be in vain. And this beautiful event will be a promise unfulfilled. This evening should not only be an evening of joy, it should be an evening in which each and every one of us recommits and redevotes himself to Ahavas Torah and to the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Those of you that were Siyum HaShas, do it again, better and stronger. Do it again with more iyun, with more chazara, with more simcha. Add something more than in the previous cycle. To those of you that do not Siyum HaShas, start Shas and take it one step at a time, hoping that you will be Siyum HaShas. And all of us together try to instill in the hearts of your children the passion for Limud Torah and Ahavas Torah. There are still many amongst us that are not Korveya Itim LeTorah. You should understand V'hogisav b'yoyim v'laylo is a chiyuv, it's an obligation. And in Hilchas Talmud Torah and Shulchan Aruch, the Berkei Yosef quotes Reb Sheptel, the son of the Shlo. It is a chiyuv to learn Gemara every day, like it is a chiyuv to put on tefillin every day. That's the great chidah, the Berkei Yosef, quoting the son of the Shlo. Instill in the hearts of your children a passion for Torah. And when children see their father come home from a Daf Yomi shiur, radiating simcha, that is the greatest gift we could give our children. Yes, we are once again in turbulent waters, in stormy seas. Anti-Semitism is on the rise, but the nisyonos and the spiritual threats to our children are immense. I say, it was never as easy as it is today to be a Talmid Chacham. If you want to learn, it is relatively easy. You have so much help. You learn the Daf Yomi and you have so much literature. Schottenstein, Mesifta, Chavruta, many other things. I'm an old-timer. I just learned the Vilna Shas. But I know it was never as easy as it is today to be a Talmid Chacham. It was never as difficult as it is today to want to be a Talmid Chacham. Because children growing up in the shtetl for 1,000 years, all they saw was tired of Yidden running from shul to their homes and from their homes to the shuls. Our children are exposed to so many different things. They have so many distractions, so many temptations, so many nisyonos. What can we do besides daven? Daven for nachas, yes. We must share with them the beauty of Torah and the simcha of Torah. And the greatest gift we could give to our children is letting them the experience what simchas Torah is. And when children grow up in a home and they see their father engrossed and enriched and simchas Torah, that is the greatest gift we could give our children. So this evening is not only an evening to rejoice, it is an evening in which each and every one of us needs to obligate and to commit every fiber of his being once again to rekindle the spirit and reignite the fire and passion of simchas Torah. So we have come a long way, and this is this 13th Siyum HaShas. How will number 14 be? We hope and pray and daven that the 14th Siyum HaShas, we will not stand in New Jersey 100,000 strong. At the 14th Siyum HaShas, we will stand millions in Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh, together with Moshiach Tzidkeinu. And we will not only say, Hadran Alach Mesechet Nida V'Kol HaShas. We will not only say, Me'ei Mesei Koyrin Shema B'Yarvin. We will say, Tfilas HaShachar. In the words of the Novi Yeshayahu, Az Yebuka Keshachar Oirech Va'aruchascho Meheru Titzmach. We will say Tfilas HaShachar and Oiroi Shel Moshiach together with Moshiach Tzidkeinu in Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh B'Meheru V'Yomeinu. Amen.